Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome again to the Radical Edge of HR. I'm your host, Tanya Hawley, and this, of course, is special edition, the Recruitment Alliance. We apologize. We're just a little bit behind. We're having a few technical complications, but we're going to get through it. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our wonderful panelists today, the experts behind TRA, the Recruitment Alliance. I want to welcome back Miss Shanika Freeman. Welcome back, Shanika.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. And of course, Miss Linda Trocina. Welcome back, Linda.
Hey, thank you. Thank you
So,
for being our moderator.
oh, always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. And I'm going to go ahead and we're going to dive right in. Of course, the title for today is The Value of Revisiting Language in Job Descriptions. Now, I bet you some of you never even thought about that. What's in a job description? You just write it out, but there's something to that, and we're going to talk about that a little bit today. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and put them in the comment section. I'll be happy to ask our panelists. So let's dive right in. Linda, I'm going to start with you. What is considered a good job description?
So, in today's market, recruiting is tough. It's very competitive. Candidates are really taking their time and deciding what's best for them. And so boring job descriptions in this market will not attract candidates. The market is too tight. And so we need to compete more for excellent candidates. And that really starts with writing an excellent job description. One way to do that is to fine tune the opening of your job description. I've heard in the past that when you meet somebody in person, it takes them about 7 seconds to form an impression of you. And I guess you could say the same really holds true for candidates when they see a job posting. They pay attention to and remember the start more than any other section. And that opening ultimately is really the deciding factor on whether a candidate continues to read through the posting. So your introduction of a job posting really needs to be compelling enough that it gets the candidate to continue to read, but then it also has to be brief enough that they can decide within seconds whether or not they want to continue forward.
Great. Thank you, Linda, for that. That's very interesting. Making a first impression. I never thought about that when you think about a job description. So that's quite interesting.
Yeah. Right. And, they do say that like an in-person introduction, it's, people look at how you're dressed and if you smile and that type of thing. And I think that really in an interesting way holds true for a job description. They want to be kind of drawn in right away. And so those beginning lines kind of are what make the impression.
So can you tell me some things that companies can do to hook a candidate? I like that. How can you hook them, gain their interest? Because it's a competitive market out there, right? To find good candidates, everybody's looking for them, and there's a lot of jobs, so they kind of have the upper hand. So how can they hook them?
Exactly. So the information about your company is important, but more importantly, candidates really want to know what's in it for them. And so the job description needs to be humanized. Humanize the intro, I guess, by using the words you and your rather than impersonal type of statements. Post-pandemic, candidates have really become even choosier about where they work. And so company missions are extremely important as well. And so you can make your job description more appealing by leading maybe with your company mission so that candidates can determine whether or not this, fits what they're looking for. It gives the candidate a big picture of the company right out of the gate and pulls them in with your purpose. Another way to engage them in an opening statement is to really get creative. Get creative with headings and use statements like, are you ready to make an impact versus, just running into something boring about, the company. But regardless of what approach you use, that information really needs to capture interest.
Great, thank you. Now, Shanika, I got a question for you.
Sure.
How important is having the job title in the job description?
It's very, very important. And I'm going to say it one more time. It's very important because it reminds the candidate of the position they're applying for, and it gains that additional attraction. So targeted job titles are more effective than the generic ones. So being precise by including key phrases that accurately describes the role, that is one of the key factors to keep in mind when creating a job description or when posting a job. So Indeed did a survey that found that 36% of job seekers that use job sites search for a job by using the title for the job that they're looking for. So it may not necessarily be in that title, but they're using that title to do their job searches. So whatever comes up as that job description, it pulls in their search. It's also important to avoid internal language or internal lingo. We're looking at a source or an array of candidates. So we're not looking at internal candidates. So when we're switching between a job description and it may be the same job, but internal language and external language makes a huge difference. Use standard experience like senior rather than internal type of titles that people are less likely to look for. And the last thing is that if job titles appear in the text of the job description, that helps the search engine to understand that those words are important and they attract the candidates to that particular job. It's all about the attraction.
Okay, very good. Okay, yeah, because that'll draw their attention if they're attracted to certain words, etc. So I like that.
Absolutely.
So we're in the world of diversity and inclusiveness. How can you ensure a job description is inclusive? That's an interesting question and concept because I would have never thought about that. I wouldn't think that a job description could exclude someone in some ways.
It
So
can.
how can you expound on that for me, Shanika? please?
Absolutely. So finding the right candidate for the job starts with the right job description. A good job description is one that is written with inclusivity in mind. So we're including everyone. Word choices can have a significant impact on whether a candidate applies to the job, and incorporating inclusion in the job description encourages a range of diverse candidates to apply. If a job description is worded too heavily on gender, race, or what have you, this can exclude certain individuals from applying for the job.
Thank you, Shanika. Very interesting.
Absolutely.
That's why I have the experts here. This is new to me, so this is very interesting. Very good. So Linda, we're going to come back to you. We don't want you to feel excluded. Like I did that. I want you to be excluded in the conversation. We're still in a pandemic age. So how has the pandemic created a need for updated job descriptions? Because it's definitely still here. I can vouch for that.
It definitely. So probably the biggest impact of COVID-19 was the shift to full-time remote. People had to scramble and shift to that full-time remote work. And then as we moved back into offices, it became more of a hybrid setup that would alternate between working in the office and from home for some people. And so what we're finding is people are very interested in that remote work or that hybrid model still. And so I would say the number one impact has been that if you are recruiting for a remote or a hybrid role, it needs to be prominent in your job description. I can say that I recently posted a remote position. Remote was listed down below in the job description. And then I actually moved it up into the title and saw more activity, just to give an idea. This is what people are looking for. And so candidates also really want to see what remote or hybrid means spelled out in the job description. Is it 3 days a week? Is it 2 days a week? How often would I maybe, if I'm not in the city where the job is, how often will I have to fly or drive to that area? So utmost importance, probably the biggest change post-pandemic has been, is this remote, hybrid, or on-site? And then also, if your company has specific policies or procedures related to COVID, it's important to include that in the job posting. This helps to really reassure candidates that they're conscious of employee health and safety and that it's a priority.
Okay, great. And what other items can employers include in a job description that will appeal to candidates? Shanika, I'm going to direct this one towards you, please.
Absolutely. So by now, I think we all know that we are in the Great Resignation. And the job description, when people are looking for work, they're looking for what's in it for them. Candidates, what's in it for me? So more than ever, being transparent about compensation is important. Job ads that include salary receive more than 30 or 30 more applicants, and also assures candidates that they're not wasting their time. It's one thing to go through the application process and you're so interested in this job, and then you get to the last part of that interview and no one can win because a salary compensation for that position is not what that candidate is looking for. Also, listing employee benefits in the job description is the best way to attract top candidates in a competitive job market. Here again, the Great Resignation. It's a competitive market for candidates and looking or seeking opportunities. So studies have shown that over 70% of prospective applicants would be more likely to apply for a job if they outline the benefits of being offered by the company.
So it sounds like the more information, the better.
The more information, the better. We want to attract the best candidates, especially in times like these when, it's a candidate's market.
Yes. They have stiff competition out there. So yes, that makes sense. And that would make sense to know what the salary is in advance. I know when I have been looking for jobs, it's almost like you're attracted when somebody has a salary out there that you really like, as opposed to not knowing. You'll be quick to apply for that. That makes sense. And last but certainly not least, Shanika, my last question is there other wording you can utilize to create an appealing job description?
Yeah, so you can consider including a section at the end with feedback from real employees on past projects, challenges that were faced, success stories, and top tips that they would share to prospective candidates. So it's that it goes into you're reading and reviewing the job description, you're going through that interview process, and now it's that candidate experience. So coming from employees who may have been recently hired, what are their success stories or what are some things that they were challenged with so that it's more appealing or more attractive to those newcomers that's coming onto the team. You can also make the description employee focused. Rather than listing dozens of qualifications and responsibilities, you can focus on items like how an employee can contribute to the company's mission or how the company can contribute to the employee's success. It's a partnership. Going back to that last question or that last statement that I made, this is a Great Resignation. Employees or new candidates are looking at what's in it for them. And employers should be looking at the same thing as a benefit to add to that new employee coming on board. So let's advertise this information in the forefront, and then we can carry on throughout that conversation as they go through that application process. And lastly, highlighting expectations of a position rather than the tasks that the position can help attract more candidates. Organizations tend to list daily tasks rather than wording the job description to highlight performance measures that are used to determine the success of the role. We all want to be successful. The company wants to be successful. Employees want to be successful. Why not be successful together?
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing those good nuggets about job descriptions. Is there anything else? Oh, we have a question here. Hey, Artie. Artie is asking, are cover letters necessary anymore? That's a good question.
Personally, I think in an employee or candidate's, and it can go either way, but I think in a candidate's resume or their profile, that objective or their summary could account as or count for a cover letter. These days or previously it was an objective. Now it's more becoming more of an introduction, and that cover letter is that introduction to that company or the organization from that employee or candidate, who you are, who they are, and what can you bring to the table. So that summary section, I feel like, is that cover letter, that introduction to themselves or to their experience. Linda, if you want to chime in or add more, take away.
No, I totally agree. In fact, I've seen less and less job postings asking for cover letters and seen more resumes geared toward with that summary on top. It's more you're selling yourself through that summary, but we still do see companies also that are still asking for that cover letter. So I think it just depends upon companies.
Okay, great question. Thank you, Artie. And was there anything else that you all want to touch on, or have we pretty much covered everything about job descriptions today?
I think we've covered everything. I think between the conversation, I think these are great tidbits that we've shared.
Yes.
I think we touched on just using that language, not just internal language, but external language or just industry language that candidates would likely understand versus internal language. A lot of what I've seen also is, or have been, and which could account for internal language as well, are acronyms. Someone may understand an acronym internally, or it may be a standardized acronym, but even though it's something that others may understand, I just feel like if we're gonna use an acronym in a job description, we have to put the definition of that acronym in parentheses or somewhere around it so that we understand what it is, or others understand what it is.
Yes, that's a good point. Because I can't say how many times I've read things just in general, and I have to go Google what that acronym meant because
Exactly.
I have no idea.
Exactly.
Especially if there's someone that is not in that industry.
Correct.
They're not super familiar, or something like you said, if you use in-house. So that's a good point, Shanika. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Well, I think we've come to the end of our job description discussion. I will say, everyone, if you need help with your job descriptions or writing and finding employees and anything that goes along with it, the Recruitment Alliance, or TRA, as we affectionately call it, can help you. And if you could leave everyone and tell them where they can reach you and find you. Linda, if you want to leave everyone with that info.
At hrksrecruits.com.
Thank you, Linda. All right, ladies, thank you again for being my panelists today and the experts in this subject and many, many more. And you all, please join us next month. We'll be back again with a brand new topic. Thanks for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you.